you see like priests, nuns, but it's also a very tamasic color, and it's also the color worn by many gangsters and all that, are always wearing black. Remember what was his face? The singer?
Tupac Shakur?
No, the guy that...
Frank Sinatra wore a lot of black.
No, I'm not talking about the gangster now.
Johnny Cash.
Johnny Cash.
He wore black all the time. Man in black.
Man in black.
Raphael wears black all the time.
Who?
Raphael.
Right.
Always.
But for example, in Johnny Cash, because he was wearing like black shirts and black ties and black suit, he was. When you would see him, it was like kind of a whoa. That image was like it was not inviting. You don't want to be Johnny Cash's friend. It was like, whoa. There is a guy who's very. He was scary somehow, like projecting this, don't come here, because of this. And he was, if you saw the movie about his life, he was kind of a lone wolf in a sense, right? He like that. So black is an interesting color that is not something that we should wear very often.
Only the funerals.
It's not a color to wear very often. Just has a projection of negativity and tamasic energy into the body. And a lot of people wear black all the time. Okay. I used to wear black at one point all the time. And when I got rid of all my black clothes, I actually felt much better. I had this woman who came to me like 2 years ago. And he was in so much distress. He had a condition which is burning in the body. It's not very usual, but it's in the encharaca. And of course, Western medicine is at a loss with it because it's high pita basically. But it doesn't relate to any illness that we know. And of course, it's like she would get up in the morning and her body was burning from inside out. And it was like that all day long until she would go back to bed. And she lived in Miami. And she was, of course, a very strong pita. So she was desperate, being like that for 2 years. And she had taken everything under the sun and nothing had worked. And she asked me, do you know what I have? And I said, yes. And she said, are you sure? I said, yeah, I know what you have. She says, is it curable? I said, of course. It'll be okay in 2 or 3 weeks. She couldn't believe it. She was, of course, that's not so hard to you just lower pita, that's it. However, one thing I noticed that she was all in black, and she was very depressed. And part of her recommendations was throw away all your black clothes. I told her that, throw away all your black clothes and start wearing brighter colors. Blues and greens and some yellows and stuff like that. Next time I saw her, she was wearing like blue, and I noticed that, but I didn't say anything. The next time I saw her, she was again wearing green or something, and then I pointed it out. I said, "Oh, I said, you're not wearing black today." I said, "I'm never. I barely ever wear black again." And she was a completely different person. Of course, she was getting better because of the health issues, but she was a different person. The depression, which came from a long time ago before the heat and all that, was lifted. So this is the importance of color, and above all with a color which is so intense as black. So it's not a joke wearing black. Finally, we have white. And white is the most spiritual of all colors. It's pure purity. And it's widely used in the spiritual world. However, it's so subtle that Vatas don't do very well with white. So Vatas are not supposed to wear too much white. If they wear, I mean, they can wear some white, but it has to be in combination with their colors. Then we are okay. You see? It'd be too subtle for them.
What about purple? Yeah, color's good.
Purple is a combination. It's a combination of red and blue. So it has both aspects in it. Purple is a color of the seventh chakra. So it's the color of pure spirituality too. And it's talking a lot about liberation. Okay? So it's a color to be worn, for example, in between seasons. It can be worn by Vatas and Kaphas in spring and in the fall. And if it's a light kind of purple, like a violet, Pittas can deal with it if they combine it well with their colors, okay? Color therapy is really used when you go into gem therapy. Then it's when color therapy gets in. Then we're talking about the really strength of color therapy when you apply it to gems. If you see these Ayurvedic doctors, I don't know if you have ever been in front of an Ayurvedic doctor from India. Their hands is like, there's not a finger that doesn't have a ring. And some fingers have 2 or 3 rings. Because they have they're obsessed with the planets. So they're always trying to, placate the energies of the different planets. Okay, so Dr. Bazan Lad, he's like a jewelry shop. He's covered with things, and he explains to you every single one and everything. He's a lot into Jyotish, so of course it's Jyotishi, which is the Ayurvedic astrology. I believe more in Edgar Cayce than in astrology. You know Edgar Cayce? He was a prophet. He have gone to trance and give out all these readings about everything. And he used to say that despite the different influences from the planets and the other bodies in outer space, the most important thing in the life of a human being is will. The will of a human being is much more important than anything that can affect us from the outside. So it's the will that really is gonna tell you what is in for you in this lifetime. And the other stuff is there, and it's important to know. It's very important if you know how it affects you. It just tells you what you're doing here, and where you're coming from, and where you're coming here. It's complex, actually. But I am with him, so I'm not so worried about it. Depends on what you believe and what culture you were born in. Okay. So let's go back to. So in winter, those are the clothes we wear. Look at this thing that Charaka says. One should embrace a healthy woman with her well-developed plump breasts and with her body be smeared with a guru, which is a kind of herb. Lie down on the bed, intoxicated with a strong passion, and may indulge in excessive sexual intercourse during the winter.
Was he married, John?
At those times, heating conditions inside the homes were not so good as today. Right? And the highest source of heat is a naked body. We all know that. So sometimes it was necessary for them to just get there not to get to freeze up, okay? So it's a good advice from China, because sometimes they're so descriptive that it's just a crack up with these things. So we talked about that, Apianga, Sueda, hot water, baths, all this is important in the winter time, okay? So we go into a spring. In a spring, kapha, everything melts, as Maritza was pointing out. Kapha starts melting with the upcoming heat. So it's later on we'll see the aggravation of the doses, but it's kapha aggravating. So we need to take all measures to placate, to minimize the effects on kapha. Okay, this is a kapha season, 100%. Winter is a vata and kapha season. This is a kapha season, 100%. So we need to do things to mitigate kapha. We need to avoid those tastes that are deranging to kapha. This is sour, salty, sweet, and oily, and also heavy foods or heavy diets. Okay. So we need to go more into foods that are astringent, the dryness, bitter, light, katuka, pungent, spicy, to just start breaking up all this congestion that's being produced in the lungs and all that. Yes.
So, what if you have like a vata, a really bad vata imbalance during spring? What do you do?
The first thing you do is you take care of vata.
Okay.
First thing you do is take care of vata. You use, of course, you have two things in Ritucharya. Dinacharya prevails. Dinacharya always prevails. Ritucharya is important when it is your season. If you are kapha, then springtime you have to pay a lot of attention. What Ritucharya is telling us is that there are certain times of the year when these conditions happen, so we need to be very alert to that time. We could live just by Dinacharya if we were smart enough to follow what's happening around us, and seeing that by Dinacharya I have to change a little bit here, because even though I'm Pitta, it's winter time and I'm not so hot anymore, so maybe this is a good time for me to start eating some soups, or more soups that I was eating. Pitta cannot go into full Vata mode or Kapha mode, but he has to accommodate himself or herself to these cold conditions. So in the springtime, the one that has to be really concerned is a Kapha. The other two have to understand that there is a lot of melting, and they may get some of this congestion inside, so be careful with eating so much dairy, for example, which is a no-no for a kapha in the winter time, in the springtime, because that would be the worst thing that they can eat, dairy, okay? So, but even a vata or a pitta will have to slow down on that, or at least be aware if I'm getting a lot of colds or a lot of mucus. So why I'm getting so much mucus? Because your kapha, no matter how much you have, it's melting. So be careful. Maybe don't eat yogurt and just stick to some milk. You see? But if you have vata vikruti, then the first thing we have to do is just take care of the vikruti, the vata vikruti. and then we deal with the season. Okay. Says Charaka. Take food consisting of barley and wheat. Barley is a diuretic. Meat of rabbits, antelopes, common quail, and great partridge. These are all drying meats. One should drink herbal wines made of barley, fresh liquors, water with honey. Again, we're seeing all these things that are kapha pacifying. It's just destroying the kapha. Water and honey is good to liquefy fat. And it's warming too. That water is of course warm water. Okay. Liquors, again, drying and warm. Dry foods such as corn is a drying food. For example, chickpeas, very drying. Spicy drying herbs. You know a very drying herb? It's used in corn bread. Cornbread being one of the most drying foods you can eat, actually. What do they use in cornbread? They don't use it here?
I know cornbread, but I don't know how to make it, so I don't know spice.
Sage.
Oh.
Use that in turkey.
Sage is very drying. Very drying. As a matter of fact, when a mom doesn't wanna discontinue breastfeeding, you use sage tea.
When she wants to discontinue?
Yeah, when it's time.
Oh.
Dry out.
Because sometimes it's time, or because the kids don't want it, the baby doesn't want it anymore because it's 2 years old or 3 years old, whatever. But still, the milk is going to continue coming out, or it's going to continue being produced, and they may get an infection. So the way to stop the glands from producing it is sage tea, the traditional remedy in Ayurveda. Sage tea for a few days and it just goes away. What do you use to produce milk? You guys know? What herbs do you use?
Oh, herbs. I just read this.
The yogi tea that is for that. Actually, there's a yogi tea.
Yeah,
Is it
mother's milk.
Musta?
It's called mother's milk.
Mother's milk.
Was it Musta that I was just reading?
Mother's milk.
One of those I was reading.
In Colombia, it's agua panela.
It's fennel. And ay, mamita. Fenugreek. Fennel and fenugreek. Fenugreek being the top one, but normally you do a tea of fennel and fenugreek. That tea in yogi tea, if you look at it, you'll see that it's made out of fennel and fenugreek mostly, and then they put in other herbs. But fennel and fenugreek are the ones that,
Is this
my
just-
wife, I remember, she had 2 cups and that was it. She was like going crazy with so much milk. She had to stop taking that. We used a couple of cups in 2 days and that was it. It was amazing. And if you come across a woman whose milk is not nourishing enough for the baby, they immediately resort to formula. No, go for Shatavari. Shatavari will improve the quality of milk, and you start taking Shatavari and then these other 2, and the milk will be good again. You don't need to go to formula yet. Shatavari will give everything that the baby needs. Shatavari is an amazing herb.
So is this just for humans, or would people do this for like their cows and goats and stuff too.
I
We give them all these. They give them all antibiotics and stuff like that. If you just gave them this stuff, I wonder.
I don't know much about Ayurveda for animals. There's Ayurveda for animals.
Yeah, I
There's
know.
a lady in Colorado that does a lot of this stuff. And but what I read about her, how she treats her cats and dogs and stuff, she uses the same herbs, different proportions, but they uses the same herbs and it works for them. So I'm pretty sure that it will work for them.
Start a movement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Turmeric paste works for humans and animals too.
Yeah, I use
the
it.
turmeric paste
Yeah.
with the pepper and
Listen,
the coconut oil.
Animals eat the same thing. They do it naturally. I'll give you an example. Elephants love sweets. Everybody knows that. And they love sweets in nature too. So they will go and start eating sweets like crazy. But an elephant is a kapha animal.
Right.
So if they eat too many sweets, they're going to get something like diabetes.
Right.
So they're going to kill themselves. So what do? They eat something called Bermuda grass. And Bermuda grass is like,
Like insulin.
huh?
It's like a natural insulin kind of thing.
It's,
Like
yes,
a bitter.
it regulates insulin in the body and takes away the cravings for sweets. So, and they eat tons of Bermuda grass. So they just compensate so they can eat their sweets. Elephants are something amazing to see. Okay, no sleeping during the day. In the winter time, neither. We have enough strength, so it's not needed to go for sleep. Actually, it's kapha time, so it's absolutely forbidden. Remember, we saw that naps increase kapha. Abhyanga, exercise, nasya. Nasya is super important here. Remember, all this congestion coming up. Nasya is a daily theme for kapha in the springtime. Gandusha, extremely important. Collyrium in the eyes, extremely important. We're talking about all these allergies, all this kapha from the neck up. So we need to resort to all these dinacharya things that I was telling you. Some people may need it, some people may not need it. Do it once a week. Hey boy, what kind of animal is that?
An ibis.
No, I'm talking about Vata Pitta Kapha.
Oh, vata. Very
Saunas, being out in nature. Bright, warm colors. Basically the same colors we had in the winter time, but now we're gonna go into something bright. So we're gonna wear the bright greens and the bright blues and all this stuff, okay, depending on each dosha. Grays can be depressing because gray is a mixture of, it's neutral, but it's a mixture of the black and white, so it can be depressing. Depends on what shade of gray you use. This is a lighter one, so this can be used by a pitta easily, okay, certain times of the year. But the dark grays, they are depressing to kapha, so kapha should not be wearing any of that. It's kapha time, so vatas so-so. It's time for enjoy the springtime. So the bright colors will do very, very well. Okay. By the way, one thing I didn't tell you, kapha is about all these colors, but kapha doesn't like rich colors. Kapha is about light colors, and vata is about rich colors, and pitta is about pastel kind of colors. Okay, that's how the shades. Those are the shades for each of them. What else do we have? Be careful with acne. That's the other thing. Because as kapha starts melting, all this kapha in the stomach, kapha accumulates in the stomach, right? So there's going to be an increase in kleda kapha. So you have to be careful. You don't have a very strong acne. There's a lot of problems in the spring with the digestive problems as well because of this. Acne is turns between manda and visana. So we have to be careful. Okay, this time of the year. So with foods. Vamana is a therapy that's used. And another one that's used is Dhumapana, smoking of herbs. That's when it's done, mostly. That's when it's done to dry out all the excessive kapha in the lungs. Dhumapana. Okay. So we go into summer. Pure pitta, aggravating for pitta, depending where you are, can be relieving for kapha and vata. But that we'll see in a minute. So pitta is a time, summer is the time of the year when we have to resort to cooling tastes. And that would be sweet, bitter, and astringent. Of course, a vata type, Ashley, vata type, if you tell them to eat a lot of bitter and astringent, they're going to go out of whack, evidently. Mm-hmm. So in this case, what is bitter? Salads. That's what we eat in the summertime mostly, right? Which is so good for eating both pitta and kapha. Can a vata eat salads? Yes, that's a time for them to eat salads, but they still have to understand their kapha, their vata, so they have to use still oil, still lime juice or lemon juice, so they still have to compensate for the dryness of the salad, okay? The coldness. A lot of liquids. Ghee, milk, rice. Fruits, lots. Grapes, being in Ayurveda the most sattvic and the best for the summer season. Green juices for vatas mostly and for pitta and kapha. Coconut water, soups at night, lots of liquids. Avoid too many oils, too much fat, heavy foods like heavy meats, curds, too many fermented foods. You know, fermented foods are heating. No doshas. Alcohol should be avoided, big time, heating and drying. Avoid spices, too much salt. And sour things. So pittas, eating sour fruits in the summertime is a very bad idea. Lime is, you'll see this later when you talk about diet, but lime is sweet, has digestive effect, so that's what we use for salads, better than vinegar, for example. Don't expose to the sun. Don't be in the sun. Take exercise to a minimum. And always in the cooling part of the day, either early morning or in the evenings. I see people, jogging here in Miami at 2 p.m. It's just, I cringe when I see them. And they're all pittas, by the way, when you see them. Says Charaka. During the daytime, one should sleep in an air-cooled apartment. During the night, after having besmeared the body with sandalwood paste, one should sleep in the open, airy roof. under the cooler or air conditioning of the house, which is cooled by the rays of the moon. So that's how they do it traditionally in India. In the summertime, they would sleep on the roof. In that heat, that's the only way they can cool themselves. Okay.
That's so interesting because you had said that the rays of the moon cool you, and for some reason, like I usually have my blinds closed at night, and for some reason, when it started getting really hot, I started leaving my blinds open, like I wanted the moonlight in. It just was like something. It's amazing. The more you get into Ayurveda, like your body really does start. You start really listening to it, and you don't know why, but you're just doing it.
It's very cool. Avoid sex once every 2 weeks, says Charaka. Or restrict it as much as possible. Frequent places with water, the ocean, lakes, rivers, forests, very important this time of the year. Pitta would do great. Gardens, flowers, fountains, any of these places would be great. Moonwalks is what I recommend my clients a lot. This is a time not to wear reds and oranges and all that, no bright colors. This is time when a Vata can wear whites, for example, or light blues. This is the time for Pitta to wear white and blue and green mostly, okay? We don't want anything that we want light colors. This is the word here, light, because we have to repel heat, okay? The best fabrics are cotton, organic cotton, silk, if we were to get it. Even rayon is something that is worn in India a lot. Rayon, okay. In the Middle Eastern countries, in ancient times, I don't know if they still do it, but what they would wear is. You remember that they were wearing those chilados, those things are like tunics. They would wear 3 or 4 tunics, but they were all made out of silk. So by doing this, their bodies would be cooled, and they would be sweating, and you can see the sweat and everything. So that's the way they were doing it. And loose fitting. That's the other thing. So there is airy coming in. This is a time when in Ayurveda, ghee prepared with bitter herbs is prescribed. What's called tikta grita. Tikta, bitter, and grita ghee. Tikta grita. It's recommended for pittas mostly. And you take a teaspoon in the morning followed by warm water. This is great for a lot of ailments in Pitta.
What's the name of it?
Tikta, Tikta, Tikta meaning bitter taste, and Grita, Grita, I think, and that means ghee in Sanskrit. Finally, we have the fall. Fall is the Vata season. Wind and dryness, windy and dry conditions prevail. So here we go into a full Vata Ritacharya. Sweet, sour, salty, moist, warm foods. Stay away from bitter. We can use a little bit more of spicy here, but stay away from bitter and astringent big time. Warm cereals. porridges, soups, spicy soups. Without doubt, soup would be again recommended. Nuts, oily stuff, fat, wines, warm milk at night, almond milk at night. The way of preparing Ayurveda, okay? Not the silk. Right.
How do you make that? You grind the almonds? Or the almond milk?
Or a sliver.
Soak them.
Or a sliver. Yeah, you soak them first, then you normally
Right.
they're a sliver, and then you get the cow's milk,
Right.
and you warm the milk with the almonds inside, and you put spices, ginger, mostly, cardamom, of course. Ginger, you can use turmeric, you can use nutmeg, you can use cloves, and that you take before you go to bed. That's very good to go to sleep, to pacify vata, big time. It's yummy, that thing. It's so good. I used to have it in India.
Do they sell the already prepared almond, like an almond powder? You can.
In India, how I saw it, it was always with the almonds. I mean, you drink it and you're chewing on the almonds.
Okay.
You're chewing on the almonds.
So you can use a slivered almond.
Yeah. Herbal teas, ginger, cumin, chives, cinnamon. No naps. Don't expose yourself to windy conditions. That's very important. The wind is one of Vata's worst enemies. Or frosty. Cold winds are normally the source of a lot of problems for Vata, a lot of disease. Okay. We wear Vata colors. We cover ourselves in different layers. Daily Abhyanga. Now, this is the time for Abhyanga with warm oils, sesame. The Pittas can use even almond this time of the year. Enemas. If you suffer, then you should have an enema every week.
Like an oil retention then?
Both. Like one with, if it's weekly, then you do, for example, Dashamula enema with sesame oil. That would be the ideal for a Vata type. Pitta type would have to go into a Dashamula Uduchi. And Kapha Dashamula Pudama. So as you can see, we just follow Dinacharya to another level. We just become more aware of what's going around us. And awareness is key. Awareness is key. Because in between seasons, there is a time called Ritu Shanti. And in Ritu Shanti is the last 7 days and first 7 days of the new season. So what happens in Ritu Shanti? We come, let's say, from summer into fall, and we have been living all these Pitta pacifying diet and lifestyle and everything. And then out of the blue, the weather starts to change. It starts changing into the new season. I'm talking a temperate climate, okay? So the conditions are not the same. So Vata starts increasing. But if we're still eating the same stuff, all these Pitta pacifying or these cooling foods, then our body is not going to be taking it so well. So Ritu Shandi is extremely important because it's the time actually when disease starts, when disease comes, because our body is confused. It's a Vata period, always, because there is a change, and when there is a change, when there is movement, there is Vata. So no matter where you are, Ritu Sandhis always bring a lot of Vata. So we need to be gradually changing into the new season, seeing how this is happening, you know. The days, the end of August in northern Florida, for example, it starts getting cooler. The evenings get cooler. The humidity starts receding. We're getting into Vata already because there's fall actually in northern Florida. So dryness comes in. What do? We have to start letting go of all these salads and all these cold drinks and start, mixing them. I eat my salad, yes, but I'm gonna put some warm food as well afterwards, or I'm putting some quinoa in it, or putting some cheese in it. We're starting to mix things, more avocados, whatever, okay? And little by little, we start making the change. By the end of these 2 weeks, by the end of Ritu Shandi, we should be already in the new season, fully adopting everything in the new season. Now I'm doing Abhyanga. If I'm Vata, I'm doing Abhyanga every single day. If I wasn't doing it in the summertime because it was too hot or whatever, okay? So at the end of Ritu Shandi, we just fall into the new season. This is the time for Panchakarma. We don't do Panchakarma for a Pitta in the middle of August. We do Panchakarma for a Pitta when Pitta starts to accumulate. Not when it is aggravated, when it starts to accumulate. So by doing that, we remove this Pitta, and when the Pitta season comes, then our Pitta is pacified. Because if we wait until August to do Panchakarma for a Pitta, then the Pitta will be so exacerbated that it's going to be very hard to control. Very, very hard. Okay? So that's how we do Panchakarma. So for Vata type, Panchakarma will be done before, in the Ritu Shandi, between summer and fall. For the Kapha type, it will be done in the Ritu Shandi between winter and spring. And for the Pitta type, it will be done in the Ritu Shandi between spring and summertime. So let's see.
Sorry, for Kapha?
Kapha in the Ritu Shandi between winter and spring. And now we're going to see why this happens. So we have accumulation, aggravation, and this. So Vata accumulates in the Ritu Shandi between summer and fall. Is aggravated in the fall. And it's released in summer. Pitta accumulates between spring and summer, aggravates in the summertime, and releases in the fall. And kapha accumulates in the retushanti between winter and spring, aggravates in the spring, and is released in the summer.
Both vata and kapha release in summertime.
Yeah, because it's a heating time. Vata is released in late spring as well. Late spring, when weather conditions start to get warmer, that's a release for Vata. So Ritushani changes foods in Acharya, Panchakarma are good. Oh, that's it. We have a concept in Ayurveda called Rituviparya. Perverted season. Perverted season. What is a perverted season?
Does that have to do like with the groundhog or whatever, like 3 more weeks or 6 more weeks of winter?
Okay, good. I like that. Yes. Yes. One part of it, yes, that's one part of it. When a season extends beyond its normal time, that's Rituviparya. Another expression of Rituviparya is when there is, of course you were not watching the Euro Cup this week, but there was hail in France. They had to stop the game, and it's mid-June, and it was hailing so badly that they had to stop the game.
Yeah, that's like snows up north, and it's like April or May.
Rituviparya. when conditions suddenly happen, a spell of unusual weather actually happens in the middle of a season and doesn't pertain to it at all. That's called rito di paria as well. So rito di paria, it has to do a lot with this thing I was saying about being aware, about awareness. Because if I'm in the middle of whatever season, I'm, doing my ritucharia and everything, and then there comes a spell of unusual weather, I cannot continue doing the same thing. Because I'm gonna get sick. Because these rituals can last for a week, sometimes, or 3 days, yes.
Let's say, for example, that we're having like a very windy summer. And for me in particular, windy weather, it doesn't matter if it's cold, hot, it affects me a lot. So you have to kind of adjust your dinacharya and your diet.
Yes, and wind is always Vada's enemy, so to speak.
Yes.
So absolutely. And you have to be very careful with your ears in that sense, because that's the ethereal part, and that's where wind is going to affect you the most. Mm-hmm. So
always,
in a case like this, I would wear always like cotton or something in the ears to protect yourself. Yes, totally, because this is very important. But Ritu Viparya is not that you have a very windy season. Ritu Viparya is when, in the middle of early June, out of the blue, temperatures plummet into
unusual weather conditions.
Yes.
In other words, that are not.
Erika was saying that up north, right now, I think last week it was snowing somewhere, right?
Yeah.
So you get this spell of snow, snowy or whatever, yeah. And you get this. This is not usual. I'm not talking about just the hail yesterday in France, because probably in the afternoon it was getting okay. But if it lasts for 2-3 days, you have to be careful. You have to change completely according to the conditions that are happening. If it's extremely hot in the winter time, then you have to change that. I remember once I went to Spain in the winter time, and we were at 70 degrees for a week. It was insane. How can you be at 70 degrees for a week when they're normally in their 40s, So it was this crazy weather. But we have to pay attention to what happens. Okay, we change everything. We change, not everything, but we start changing according to this. This is even more important when the cold comes in a warm season. Because otherwise you're gonna go with some kind of kapha disease if you continue eating salads and all this stuff and taking milk and stuff. So that's the concept of Rita Viparya. It's just a crazy thing. And when the seasons, like Erika was saying again, when the season extends, beyond its time, then we have to continue with that. We have to see that the Ritu Shanti is not there yet. Okay, so this is important. That's what I was saying. Don't go by a book. You have to go by what we feel. Awareness is everything. Then we have rules, but the stuff is different. Okay. Okay, we're gonna stop. Sorry, it's been so much stuff. So we need to cover a lot of things. You sleepy?
Yeah, when's the better?